Hi, everybody. It's Friday at 2 and 1, or whatever time it happens to be where you are. Welcome to There's No Crying in Crochet, where we tackle all of your crochet frustrations and we try to answer your questions before you ask them, even. It's fantastic. Um, my cohort in crime is Biz of Busy Crochet.
Hi, everybody. Good to be
All right,
here.
we're going to go through all of the list of things, and then we're going to get down to business. All right, here we go. Remember to click like and subscribe on YouTube to get notifications. We let you know when we're going live. Now, when I did notice that when Biz is hosting, it doesn't show up on my YouTube channel until we go live, right? So it's not there ahead of time, but you can still get a notification when we go live. And let's see. Let's do the next one. We're going to hide that one and we're going to go to this one. Biz's crochet YouTube channel is Busy Crochet and mine is MadameStitch Crochet. You can subscribe to both. Watch on whichever one you want, but we both put up videos for our businesses. So there's a lot going on that you don't want to miss out on. So you want to like and subscribe so that you get notifications every time we upload something to YouTube, and they're fun. All right, here's the last one. If you are watching on Facebook right now, make sure that you give StreamYard permission to display your name so we aren't looking at Facebook user, because that doesn't make it feel very personal. They're not going to share any information. It's totally safe. So let StreamYard use your name. We would love to see who you are.
We'd like it when you chat with us too.
Oh yeah, I love it. All right. So Biz.
Yes.
How was your week?
My week was really, I'm going to say hairy, because I now have a husky in my life, a husky dog. My daughter moved back to Pensacola from Tampa, and she brought her husky with her, and she just started her new job on Tuesday. So now I am in full grandma mode, and I have puppy duties every day. She's 7 months old, and she's a very good dog. I mean, she's really good, doesn't chew on anything. I mean, like, you wouldn't know she's 7 months old, except that she has like zero obedience. So I have to take her out on a leash, and she literally will not come when you call. So anybody that knows me knows that I have to use a walker when I'm out walking on my own. So taking this dog out into the yard on her leash with a walker. This morning we had a neighborhood dog we have a grass alleyway behind our house, in the alleyway, and she just about ran my butt across the yard. I was lucky to stay upright because she was very excited to go and introduce herself to that dog.
I mean, I'm just picturing this Biz as you're out in the yard and the dog is Bleh!
Yeah, and you have to consider in Florida we've got this horrible thick crabgrass that it's it's like you're walking through a marsh in your backyard. I do have some sandy spots, but oh my word, yeah, that was a fun trip.
Well, it's good to see you here today. I'm glad that you survived the walk outside.
No broken bones. I don't think I even got a mosquito bite on that trip.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
They're bad.
Yeah, here in Pennsylvania, it's still so cool and dry. We haven't had rain, I think, since April, which is totally unusual for us. My yard has stopped growing completely. But we don't have any bugs yet. We've got the wasps and the bumblebees and things roaming around the yard and pollinating all the things, but we don't have mosquitoes and gnats and things like that. I'm okay with that. What we did have this week was, I'm sure y'all have heard about the Canada wildfires, right?
Yeah.
Well, I live due north of Philadelphia and due west of New York City. And And that means that we had the worst air quality. It was off the charts this week.
Mm.
You would walk outside and it would smell like a campfire. And yesterday or the day before, I think it might have been Wednesday, it was orange outside. It just everything looked orange. You couldn't see any
Wow.
distance at all.
Wow.
Wore a mask to walk the dog because it was just that bad.
I can't even
Thankfully,
imagine.
it's going away now because a low is pushing it away, but it just makes me realize, you hear about the wildfires in California all the time, and they have to deal with these
Yeah,
conditions, for
constantly.
much of the summer, and it's really hazardous,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially we spend a lot of time outside. We basically came inside and closed all of our windows. It was
Mhm.
really kinda scary,
I'm
um,
sure. I'm
but
sure.
we're good now.
Well, that is good, and I'm glad to hear everybody's okay and that, like, things are starting to move away from the area because that would be awful to be stuck in that for a really long time.
Yeah, I
I'm
just feel
I'm
bad
really
for the people
hoping
who
that
are stuck there.
yeah, in Canada, I'm praying for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. All right, well, we have caught up with each other. Are you ready to dive into today's topic?
Absolutely.
All right, now, today's topic, we're gonna delve into what is an Etsy star seller
Yeah.
and what are Etsy reviews, and how can those reviews best serve the crochet designers that you purchase from?
Mhm.
Um, Biz will agree with me that we've had
Mhm.
a lot of, I won't say issues, but there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of
Mhm.
information missing from
Mhm.
from our crochet community about how to handle Etsy reviews and what star seller actually means. So
Mhm.
we're going to try it. We're going to put on our business hats today and we're going to share with you some tips, some
Mhm.
information and some tips about how you can best serve your favorite crochet designers on Etsy and
Mhm.
help them achieve star seller.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
also how it is gonna help you as a purchaser, somebody who's
Mhm.
buying the patterns, how it helps you kind of navigate some of that, push that Etsy does.
Exactly. So today, episode 6, we're going to talk about Etsy reviews and star seller. So
Mhm.
let's start off with, oh, let me get rid of this one. What is Etsy star seller? Do you want to take that
Mhm.
one, Biz?
Sure. Etsy Star Seller is a program that Etsy introduced to, I don't know if it was introduced for the stores or if it was introduced as a metric for purchasers to be able to see whether or not a store is you know what's the word I'm looking for, like achieving certain standards. But it is a program that Etsy introduced to I don't know what I'm saying. My brain literally
Well,
just went blank.
it really is fine. You're absolutely right. They introduced this metric. So
There we go.
there are certain things that they measure,
Measure. There we go.
so that you so that you, the seller, or as to
Mhm.
you, the buyer, kind of gets a little bit of information about the business practices of that particular crochet
Okay,
designer
that's a
or
way
any
better way of
business on
saying that.
Etsy. I don't know where that came from, Biz, but you got me started. Um, so it's what it means for the seller is that every month, well, actually every 3 months, we have an average of different qualifications that we have to meet
Yeah.
in order to be designated as a star seller. And we'll get into that in just a second. I think, Biz, what you were trying to say is what it means for the buyer is it's just one additional way, designation, so to speak, of a buyer looking at that shop instantly and going, "Oh, they're a star seller. That
Yeah.
must mean something." So you
Yeah.
combine that with a lot of other factors, like the average review of the shop, reading the
Mhm.
reviews that they've gotten, um,
Almost like
the
it's a
look of the shop.
it's almost like people can look at that and not have to necessarily go like, I still read the reviews, but, like, people, I
Mhm.
think, look at that and go, "Oh, well, I mean, if they're achieving all of these, you know, standards that Etsy is having them have to hit in order to achieve this star seller, then obviously they must be a really good shop."
Right. So, what is Etsy Star Seller? It's a metric, as we said, and Etsy has put forth 3 or 4 metrics, 3 or 4 measurements,
Mm,
that over a 3-month period, a shop has to achieve to
yeah,
get the Star Seller badge. They are replying to messages within 24 hours. Now, that doesn't mean all messages.
mhm,
So, for instance, I'll get a message, I get an email, I get a notification through the app that a customer has messaged me. I have 24 hours
mhm,
to do the first reply.
mhm,
Once I get the reply started, I don't have to do any more 24 hours,
mhm,
but they want to make sure, and that this actually I agree with, except in circumstances where you can't control what's going on in your life. But
mhm,
um, as a general rule, a business should be able to reply to a customer within 24 hours,
mhm,
even if it's just to say, I'm not working right now. I'll reply on Monday.
mhm.
Because
Yeah,
I try to take the weekend off. Biz, I suspect
mhm,
you do too, right?
yeah.
So I may not reply on the weekend with the solution of the problem, but right?
Usually if people reach out to me as far as, like, a pattern is concerned, I'll be like, "Hey, I'm not near my computer now. When I'm in the office on Monday, I will definitely take care of this," whatever the question is. Or if it's something that I can answer right away and I don't need to be in my office, I just take care of it.
Mm. I know that can get frustrating for the buyer because for that customer who buys the
Mhm,
pattern, they've got the yarn, they are ready to start that project
mhm,
right that very second, and they can't get an answer to their problem. It can be frustrating. But you have to understand that we are individuals. We don't have a fleet
right.
of employees working for us. It's me, it's
Mhm,
Biz. And if we're not at the computer or on our phone, we miss it. So
mhm.
patience is a great virtue in this case.
Yeah, yes.
We appreciate patience. All right. The second way that they measure for star seller um, is to sell a certain amount of dollars over that 3-month period.
Mhm.
Um, I don't find that anywhere in the documentation right now, so I think that still applies, but you have to sell
Think so.
$300 worth over a 3-month period. So, for
Mhm,
instance, right now, if it says star seller on someone's shop, that was measured in March, April, and May. So they're
mhm,
star seller for June. That means in those 3 months, they sold at least $300 worth or more. Now that
mhm,
gets tough for us who sell patterns because um, if you don't have a big volume in a month at 2 or 3 or 4 or $5 a pop, it doesn't add up as quickly as you would think. So sometimes that can get a little difficult to meet that metric.
mhm. I did just look at Etsy just to see, and for me, it says that I didn't meet the orders and sales minimums last month, so it is still a metric that they're using.
It is still. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, they used to, when they first started this, I don't know if you remember this, Biz, they used to count the number of orders that, was it the
People
number of orders? I don't remember, but it was something different that there was no way that we were ever going to be meeting it. So I think they changed it to the dollar amount or like $75 for the minimum of 5 orders or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I
I don't
don't
know.
know only because I did not pay close enough attention to it until I started, like, being a star seller, and then I was like, "Oh, what is this?" I didn't really pay attention to it. I did hear, people talking about it within the community, but I have a tendency to be very, very slow about being on any kind of a bandwagon about things. So I was like, oh, everybody's talking about it. That means I'm not going to think about it. So
Wait until it matters.
So, I mean, it
And
took
then
me a
match
long time
it.
to even figure out what Star Seller was and whether or not it was even a benefit.
Right. Well, I think we'll talk about what we perceive as the benefit later, but
Mhm,
there are a couple of other metrics. One of them doesn't apply to us because we don't ship, but on-time shipping, and that
mhm,
excludes any problem the post office might have. What they want is that the order is shipped out the door of the business in a timely fashion. What
mhm,
happens after that, they can't measure because it's not there's no control over it, right?
mhm.
So you can't control the
Right.
post office or FedEx or whatever. So that does not apply to us. But the one we're going to spend some time with today is having an average review rating of 4.8. Now, we're reviewed 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars, 1 through 5.
Mhm,
And you have to have a rating of 90, you have to have 95% 5-star ratings,
mhm.
reviews to reach that metric. And there's a lot of confusion about reviews and how to leave them for crochet designers,
Mhm,
um, and what is best practice, which is what we want to address
mhm,
after we have talked about Star Seller.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as both, sellers on the platform and buyers on the platform, we are able to speak to both sides of that
Mhm.
as, like, what's the best I mean, I'm just gonna use the word, what's the best etiquette in that situation?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Etiquette's a great word for that. Um, so are we ready to dive into what
Yeah,
makes a good review? All right.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So why don't you give an example, Biz, of what we would consider a good review for what would be an appropriate review
Mhm.
for a crochet pattern that you've purchased through Etsy?
Okay, do you want me to talk as a buyer or as a seller?
As a buyer.
Okay. So I have a tendency to purchase quite a few patterns on Etsy. They just seem to be the place that I find the ones that I want the most. And I have noticed that Etsy really, really, really pushes me to leave a review almost as soon as I buy the thing. They're like,
Mhm.
review it, review it, review it. And they will send me a notification on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, in order to leave a review. So the one thing I have started doing, because I am a seller and I see the reviews that other people have left for me, for myself, I will not leave a review until I have made that pattern, because I feel like as a buyer, I really don't have the ability to say whether or not I think that is a good pattern or not. I don't have the ability to give it a 5 or a 4 or a 3. Was it written well? Did I, all of that stuff. So, as a buyer, I make sure that I've made it first, and a lot of times I will make sure that I also post a picture of my finished product, because that
Mhm.
also helps other buyers.
Yeah, that's a good practice. I think that pressure that you get from Etsy, although they will state that they don't solicit reviews, but
I think
I
they're
mean, I've
hidden.
I've purchased finished products on Etsy a number of times, and
Mhm,
almost as you're right, as soon as it's shipped, I start getting emails and notifications, and those notifications stay in the app for weeks
mhm, way too
until
long.
I've yeah. Um, and we'll discuss later why those reviews are so important.
Mhm,
But I agree with you. You can't really judge a pattern just by looking at it. You really have to go through
mhm,
and work through it. Um, Let me throw this out to you, Biz.
mhm.
What if you were working through the pattern and you had a question, something you couldn't figure out? What would you do?
Personally, I would reach out to the designer right away. I would say, "Hey, I have a question on such and such a part. You know, do you have a workaround, or is this possibly," I just ask the question. I Because that's the person that knows.
Mhm.
And still referring to the review, it doesn't make sense for me to work through this pattern, have all these problems, and never have reached out to them to the designer.
Right, so you give that designer first go at solving the problem.
Mhm.
Um, that to me, if a designer ghosts you, "I've sold you my pattern, now go forth into the world and make things, and
Reproduce.
I will never talk to you again," um, is not good seller
Oh,
practice,
no, it
right?
is not.
So that, in my opinion, would be an opportunity or a time when you might not want to leave a 5-star review.
Mhm.
If you can't get customer support, and that's really what
Mhm.
that is, customer
Yeah.
support. Now, we're not talking about a small lovey blanket that you make for a preemie, and how do I make this into a full size blanket? Can you give me the instructions
Mhm.
for that?
That's not that
That's
kind of
a
support.
no, that's no, that's a whole
No.
different ball game. But if it applies to the pattern that you're making, the designer should be willing to help you through problems or send you to
Mhm.
places where you can find the resources you need.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Um, well,
And
let's
as buyers, we should never be approaching a designer and asking them to take the pattern that you have and make it into something completely different,
right,
because that's, like you said, that's a completely different service.
exactly. Now, from the standpoint of the seller,
Mhm.
honestly, Biz, I want to receive a review that accurately reflects the job I've done. If I post a pattern that's riddled with problems or you can't understand it, I've said it's for beginners and it's just
Mm.
complicated or and someone bought it because they thought it was for their skill level, or I wasn't willing to reach out to them, then I don't deserve a 5-star review. And
Mhm.
I would hope that the buyer would accompany less than 5-star review with an explanation as to why they gave
Mhm.
that less than 5-star review.
Mhm.
Um, I had this happen to me recently. I was thrilled to see someone buy 5 of my patterns at once.
Mm, mm.
I mean, that means she likes my patterns and
Mhm.
is, interested in making them. Well, she gave me 4 4-star reviews and 1 5-star reviews, and every single one of them said, "Looking forward to making this project." Now, okay, that's great, but I'm ruined for Star Seller anytime
Mm.
soon with an uninformed review. I don't
Mhm.
think that person knows what my pattern is like. They're just looking
Mhm.
forward to making it and probably didn't feel comfortable giving all of them 5-star reviews, which I
Mhm.
get, but just don't review it.
Mhm.
Don't review it. Wait until you've made the
Mhm.
pattern.
We
The
have no
review
obligation we have no obligation to leave reviews as soon as they're asking for it. If you can just hold out against the little red dot, don't let the notification
exactly.
drive you crazy. If you can do that, then you're helping both yourself and us.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tough when I look in that app and I see notifications that I can't get rid of. I wanna just do all the things to get rid of them, but
Yes.
writing an uninformed review is not the way to do it. So we
No, for
hope
sure.
that from both sides, you see both sides of the coin.
Mhm.
All right. So what should we be asking our buyers to review? We've already talked about the quality of the pattern. Was it
Mhm.
easy to understand?
Mhm.
Was it written in a way that was easy to decipher? What other
Mhm.
things would you say?
Well, also, you and I had kind of roughly talked about whether or not to say, did you end up with the product that was advertised? And while we can't necessarily say, um, does yours look exactly like the designer's? Because everybody is at a different level when they're
Mhm.
crocheting. So we can't really use that as a way of saying, well, leave a review only if your product turned out and looked exactly like, because that wouldn't be fair to us, wouldn't be fair to you.
No.
Because if you're a beginner and I'm an expert, then we're going to have two different looks to our finished work. But you do need to be able to say that I looked at this pattern, and when they said put the beard in this spot, I was able to find the spot to put it on, the little
Mhm.
amigurumi. Or if I am supposed to be making a sleeve and it's supposed to be this measurement, when I put the sleeve on, it actually fit me. These things that we work through in these patterns, they all have to line up. And yes, you do have to be able to say, I actually made the product. It might not look exactly like the designer's product, but yeah, I was able to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And we're all human. We do lots, we all of us designers are human.
Absolutely.
We try to put mistake-free,
Mhm.
completely appropriate for everybody who buys the pattern.
Mhm.
But stuff slips through even when you have it
Oh, yeah.
tested and tech edited and all the things. So a little bit of grace is always asked for.
Mhm.
When you do find a mistake, just kindly point it out to us. If
Mhm.
it didn't impact your experience with the pattern, then it really doesn't deserve a one-star review, I wouldn't
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ending up with a finished product that looks like the finished product in the picture, whether I mean, like I said, you just can't base it on your experience level, but as long as it looks the same, did you promise me that I would be able to make this little toy? Did I get a toy in the end? Yes.
And did you reach out to the designer if you had a problem?
Right. Right.
Right? If you didn't and just threw up your hands,
Mhm.
that's not a bad review, that's bad you. So,
Well, and it's unfortunate when people, because I've seen it too many times in the crochet community where people will leave a comment, and I'm referring to Facebook only because I'm there the most. But in Facebook groups, if they see a pattern that they did or did not like or something like that, or they were working through something and they said, "Well, I've been crocheting for 50 years and I couldn't understand anything you said, blah blah blah." I mean, I understand there's frustration, but did you reach out to that designer? Did you ask them for help? I mean,
yep,
did we play it's a symbiotic relationship between a buyer and a seller.
yep.
I have a responsibility to help you through the pattern because I wrote it. You have a responsibility to come to me with any questions because we're not perfect.
I actually got a one-star review on my most popular pattern
Did you
that's got
really?
five-star reviews all over the place. I've been crocheting for 40 years, and I couldn't understand a word of this, and I thought, "Well, I
Wow.
would love to sit down with you and find out what you didn't
Yeah.
understand, but you didn't give me the chance."
I would
So I
love to
got a
walk you
one-star
through this.
review. Yeah.
Yes.
What was it you didn't get? And I
Yeah.
actually went back into the pattern and looked at it because I had just updated it. I had
Okay.
reworked some of the
Mhm.
photos and I had um, fleshed out a little bit more in the instructions. So I thought it was better. It was
Okay.
clearer. It had more resources in it.
Mhm.
So I actually went back and looked at it to make sure I hadn't just deluded myself into thinking that it was
Did I
better.
actually delete a
Um,
line or something? Like, what?
I but I honestly couldn't figure it out. So that's the kind of
Um,
review we really just don't
yeah.
get.
Yeah. Well, I
Ugh.
mean, I understand frustration with a pattern that you paid
Mhm.
for, etc., because I have purchased patterns that I did not enjoy making because I felt like I literally had to rewrite it in order to make it look like what the picture was because
Mhm.
the instructions they gave were going in the opposite direction of the way that the thing looked. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, I didn't leave a review either.
Yeah.
I just didn't leave a review because I didn't want to say anything unkind. I was able to reroute it, and redo it. I didn't I'm gonna, mea culpa. I did not, reach out to the designer to find out what the heck was going on. That was my fault. But I also didn't leave her a disparaging review.
Right. And something that just came to mind. We're talking about how to best serve the designer. I think in that review, one of the best things that you can do if you're not willing to give a 5-star,
Mhm.
if it's anything less than a 5-star, remember you're not only informing the designer of
Mhm.
things that you had trouble with, but you're also leaving a review that other people are going to see. So
Mhm.
you wanna make sure that it's informative and is a true representation
Mhm.
of what you feel the pattern did or didn't offer you when you
Mhm.
leave that review.
The other thing too that you can expect is if you do leave a review, it is possible for the designer or whomever sold you the item to reach out to you personally if they feel like that it wasn't a fair review or if they ask you to increase your stars. You know, to kind of work around as designers or sellers, if you comment on that review, it's there permanently. But as a seller, if you need to reach out to that person to change the review, you can, just don't leave a comment on the bottom of it.
Yeah, I realized well, I haven't commented or on a review, but I have reached out to buyers before.
Mhm.
I saw that you left this 1-star review.
Mhm.
I'm really sorry that you felt that way. Can you
Mhm.
please explain to me so that I can fix it?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I will say to a person, no one has ever gotten back to me because I,
Me
I
either.
sometimes I wonder if those reviews are left and people assume that they're anonymous so they don't have to answer
Mm,
for what they've done.
I don't
So,
know.
uh,
I don't know
so
because
now you've reached
the
out
few
to
that
them
I've
and
ever
maybe
reached
they're
out to have never.
embarrassed. I don't know.
Yeah, the few I've ever reached out to have never gotten back to me either. But I don't
No,
I mean, it's like I
same.
don't comb through them. After I'm gonna be really honest, I'm super bad about reading my reviews because it's just not something that I look at a whole lot, only because I'm one of those terrible people in my business. I don't really look at metrics, and I need to get better about it. I do, because I know that they matter, but I
Well,
just don't pay a
yes.
lot of attention to them. It's kinda like that
Well,
bandwagon thing.
now that you bring up the metrics, um, let's talk about Star Seller and what it means for us.
Yeah.
Um, when Etsy Star Seller rolled out, in particular, the crochet design business threw up their hands and went, "Oh my gosh, what are you doing? This is so unfair. Um, we want people to find us with all of the well-crafted descriptions we've made,
Mm,
and
mhm.
you're going to prioritize all these people who are star sellers and put them on the first page of search." And Etsy said, "Oh no, 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 we're not going to do that." Well, as Biz and I were researching for this episode, we were able to make a correlation, big word biz, correlation, and come
We're
to a
using the big ones
conclusion
today.
that it really does
Yeah,
matter and where you
actually
appear in
is.
search. And here's how. I'm gonna let you take this one, Biz, because you found the information. Oh, do you remember? I
Um,
remember.
oh,
Well, they
no.
prioritize good reviews
Oh, yes,
because
yes.
they right? Because they want to promote shops that have good reviews.
Mhm,
Understandable.
mhm.
Right? What is one of the biggest metrics in Star Seller?
One of the biggest
Your
metrics
review
is your
your
review.
review average. Yeah. So by correlation, if
Mhm,
you have great reviews as a Star Seller, they're going
mhm,
to prioritize you.
mhm.
Um, I'm not sure that's necessarily a bad thing, but um,
No, but that's where, half done, um oh, and please don't take that the wrong way. A half done or just thrown up there review can actually do some damage,
oh,
even
I
if you
don't
don't
think that's
intend it.
right. That's why I really think we need to encourage our viewers to think carefully about the review you're leaving. It has impact.
Mhm,
It has a little bit less impact on people who are buying in the future
mhm.
because the products that I've gotten less than 5-star reviews on already have 5-star reviews for them, and so people are able to make some people don't even pay attention to the reviews. I'm one of those people, unless it's something that I'm spending a lot of money on, but I generally don't look at the reviews for other people.
I'm nosy, so I
But
read the reviews for everybody, except
except
myself.
yourself, except yourself. That's hilarious. I wonder
I'm
what
so
they gave
nosy.
her. That's hilarious. Um, but it really does have impact, and it may not seem like a big deal
Mhm.
to you, the buyer, but it has consequences, especially for those of us who don't get a lot of reviews. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Getting
that's a good
star seller
point.
is hard.
Yeah, yeah. Because if it's over a 3-month period, and I'm just gonna throw an FYI out there, if I suddenly disappear, it's because we have a thunderstorm that just started up, and if my power
Oh,
goes out, I'm gone. So
I'll be sure to finish it up for you, Miss. We're
just
fine.
just throwing that out there. But, yes, because, if it's over a 3-month period and we've got a bad one in April, we've got a bad one in May, we've got a bad one in June, it just never goes away. And
Yeah.
if I'm only getting, like, 5 or 6 reviews a month, you said that it has to be 95% good in order for it to register as, uh over the mark for Etsy to record it as good reviews, like a 4.8.
Well, remember, good review in their eyes is only 5 star. So
Okay.
you may think that an average, everything else counts against that star seller.
Yeah.
So 1 through 4, that doesn't mean you shouldn't leave.
Mhm.
The star number that
Mhm.
corresponds to how you really feel. So if
Right.
it's a mediocre, leave a 3 or a 4. If
Yeah.
it's bad, leave a 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely make sure that your experience matches the number of stars that you're giving. Um, but just know that for star seller, only 5 star reviews count toward that metric.
Mhm.
Anything else detracts from that metric.
Right.
So it just as an example, it takes 19 5 star reviews to take out one review that's anything but 5 star, 1 through 4.
Wow.
It takes 19, that's 95%.
Wow.
So it takes that many to
Crazy.
override in that 3-month period. Um, that's a lot.
That is a lot, and I don't I think I sell 19 patterns a month, maybe 20, but they don't leave 20 reviews,
No,
you know?
no. Mm-mm. Yeah.
No,
All
yeah.
right. Well, we we sort of danced around all of the things that we were going to talk about, the do's and the don'ts,
Mhm.
um, and how to best serve that crochet designer.
Mhm.
Instead of we didn't really, you and I didn't really talk about this, but I think this is a good thing to bring up. Instead of leaving a review, what could a customer do instead? So, for instance, if it's, we've actually talked about it, let's just group it into this heading.
Mhm.
Um, Instead of leaving a review, we've talked about reaching out to the designer
Mm.
and making sure that that communication, so that future, if she wants to, or he
Mhm.
wants to revise the pattern because that's a legitimate complaint,
Right.
then future patterns will be improved.
Right. And don't leave a review just because you feel like Etsy's pushing you to. I'm recommending highly. Make sure that you leave a legitimate review when you have made the pattern.
Exactly. Yep, I agree.
Alrighty. Have we
Is
done
there
all of the
anything else we
things?
want to share with our viewers while we're here? We talked about how we qualify. We talked about what makes a good review. We talked about how the metrics are evaluated. Um,
Oh, and another thing. There is one thing that we have on here. Do leave a comment that explains why you left the review, and that matches the number of stars you left. A lot of
mhm.
people just click 5 stars and then they don't leave anything else. They don't leave any words, nothing. Or they say great or perfect or can't wait or something like that. While those are very, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like the picture because it's obviously you didn't make it, but if you leave something that actually says something about the pattern, that actually means more to the purchasers coming behind you.
Right.
Speaking as a buyer myself, like I said, I'm nosy and I read all the reviews. I will read probably 15 or 16 reviews. I just want to see if there's any consistency in the comments, because I
Right.
like to know if somebody has the same question or the same comment over and over again, is this something I need to look for, or am I really going to enjoy this pattern?
Yeah, and that's absolutely legitimate. I think that's a great way to use past reviews to inform your purchase.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it, Likewise, I guess if a pattern gets consistently 5-star reviews without an explanation, I don't think it necessarily means that you don't know
Oh, no, no.
clearly the pattern is good,
Yeah.
right?
I look at that and I say, well, I don't know if the person made it. I don't know if the person has looked at it. It's just,
Right.
I look at it and I say, oh, they got prodded into leaving an Etsy review.
Mm,
They
yeah.
they don't want the notification because that's it
Yep.
irritates
And
me when I can't stand it.
again, if we in our research we found that Etsy claims that they don't solicit reviews, but I don't know what you call it if you get those constant notifications day after day after
Yeah,
day,
I get it in my
and it
email
doesn't.
for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I get it in my email. The It doesn't go away in the app
Mm-mm.
for a long time.
The little red dot stays forever. I mean, there's stuff because I buy natural remedies from a place in Montana. So there are times when I will order the tincture and literally Etsy sends me a, hey, review this. I'm like, I know for a fact that Lindsay hasn't even mailed that to me yet.
Mhm.
So, you know, I, having used the product before, a lot of times I will leave the 5-star review just saying, hey, we live on this stuff. We use it every day kind of stuff, because it's a product I'm very, very familiar with. But anything that I haven't tried out, haven't used, haven't sniffed, haven't tasted, I am not gonna leave a review on that.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. Oh.
No, all right.
No, I think we've covered it. Uh, I hope this episode has helped you understand what it means when you see Etsy Star Seller, particularly when it comes to buying patterns on the
Mhm,
platform. Um, it's not the easiest thing to do to buy digital products on Etsy to
mm.
begin with. But
It takes a
if
level
you
of
get
trust.
something that you really like,
Mhm,
make sure that you appropriately review it so that the designer benefits from your experience.
mhm,
Likewise, if it really is a bad pattern, do your due diligence and reach out to that crochet designer first. Try to
mhm.
rectify the problem before you leave a scathing review.
Yeah, and I mean, if that designer does their very level best to help you, please be fair in your
Mhm.
assessment. Even if you don't like the pattern, be fair. But if I mean, the only time that I honestly would excuse a 1-star review for somebody that you've reached out to the designer is if they just have not even reached back out to you.
Yeah,
And you
I agree.
give them a couple of days.
Mhm. Yeah, and be sure to favorite your favorite crochet designer shops.
Mhm,
That way you'll
absolutely.
see all the stuff that they come out with, and you'll start to have a collection of crochet
Mhm.
designers that you can depend upon when you
Yes.
want a product. So you're not constantly trying out someone new, although that's always a
Mhm.
good thing, but you have a bevy of crochet designers that you can choose
Yes.
from that you'll get some great stuff from.
Yes, people you can trust. There's nothing better in the marketplace than places that you can trust.
Exactly.
So,
All right. I think we've solved all the issues with Etsy Seller and Etsy Review.
I think we have.
So, Biz, what did
Yes.
you watch this week?
So this week we have been on BritBox mostly, and we realized that we missed a couple of seasons of Death in Paradise. So we are on season 11 currently of Death in Paradise and just enjoying it. Tony and I, we were sitting there watching it, and he just said, I just enjoy this show so much.
I know, right?
It's just so clean. He said, I just love how, you still got your murder mystery, but it's just so clean. It's a really, I mean, I know this is going to sound so weird, but it's a family-friendly murder show.
That is, but I understand what you're saying.
I mean, it's so gentle in the way that it puts things forward.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna make any generalizations about my favorite British folks, but I just love their style when it comes to these sorts of shows. I'm still
Mhm.
working on Beyond Paradise.
Yes.
I watched the first episode with my husband, and he agrees it's a fun show.
Yeah.
Now, how long he'll stick with it, not known for his stick with itness.
Oh, see,
Um,
he and I would probably get along in the TV world.
Maybe. He says, you get past the first season or 2 and then they just try too hard. And they probably
Yes.
do. But
Yeah.
I'm a diehard. If I've invested in these characters, man, through thick and thin, I am there, which
See,
means
Tony and you could watch TV together and you could plow through the seasons. Your husband and I, we'll walk away
well,
after season 2.
no. No, actually, I watched the season finale of NCIS this week.
Mm,
As I said before, I always record it because it's on after I go to bed, but um, they're really up in their game. They've
okay.
they're getting back to the um, really interesting storylines that
Okay.
connect from episode to episode. Except my husband did say, he goes, well, now you're just not sure everybody's going to turn out all right at the end of the episode because usually they tie it up in a
Oh,
big bow at
yeah.
the end, and everybody's slapping each other on the back and hey, let's
We
go out for a
did
pizza, right? We did it. But the season finales for NCIS and Hawaii have people in trouble. So they're
Okay.
doing cliffhangers this time,
Okay. Yes. And
which
we
is
did
not his
actually
favorite
start
thing.
Hawaii last night.
Did you?
Yes.
What do you think?
Okay, so it's the first episode. It's very NCIS-ish, like it
Hmm.
has that flavor. I'm giving it some time, you know, because didn't think it was uninteresting. It's a different dynamic, different leaders, that kind of stuff. So, um, yeah, I'm definitely willing to continue.
I almost felt like they tried a little bit too hard at the beginning of that series,
Mm.
but the characters are engaging. If you stick with it,
Mhm.
I think they settle into a pace of
Mhm.
camaraderie that works.
Yeah.
They just don't have to try so hard, and it's absolutely gorgeous to watch because it's in Hawaii, for heaven's sake.
Yeah.
So they go to some really interesting places. But yeah, give it a few episodes. I think you'll
'Cause
find the
I like the
characters come
lead
around.
I like the lead female. She's good. The only thing I don't like with a lot of American TV shows is that they make it seem like women have to be these super aggressive bosses. And it's you don't have to be. I mean, like, yes, you do have to have authority and stuff like that, but sometimes it seems like they try, excuse me, a little too hard to put that
Mhm.
across. Like, I'm the boss. Do they mellow her out a little bit?
Yeah, they do.
Okay,
She's very mellow,
good.
but you know who's in charge.
Yes, and
But
I don't
she's
mind that.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, no, that's perfectly fine. I really enjoy the show,
Mhm.
um, and I think we're just finishing the 3rd season or something.
Yep,
So
so that was us this week. We started the NCIS Hawaii, and we're working on Death in Paradise, and our daughter's been over a lot in the evening, so as a family, we've been watching, what is it called? Below Deck. It's a reality TV show,
Oh,
and
yeah?
it's about the crews that work on these super yachts, and
Oh.
so we're watching the sailing season where it's on a sailboat, and because there's like 5 or 6 different iterations of this same theme, but we're watching the sailboat one, and we love the captain. but the crews have been very, very interesting. And yeah, so that's been our trash reality TV for the week.
That's
Because there always has
hilarious.
to be that little bit of that in there.
Yeah, I don't do trash TV. It's either Jeopardy, baseball, or the crime shows. That's what
Yeah,
we
but
watch.
you don't have to purge your mind as much as those of us that watch the crap though. So, count your blessings.
I would never get away with watching reality TV. Now, I will say we do watch American Ninja Warrior
Ooh, love that
sometimes.
one.
And we will watch those kinds of competitions, but I'm not a Survivor fan. Don't
Yeah.
Bachelor or Bachelorette me.
I don't like stuff
Don't
with love in it.
spam me with negative comments. It's just a
Mm,
preference. You do you. I've got a guy friend who loves Bachelorette. So
yeah.
just, whatever.
Yeah,
Float
I
your boat.
mean, what exactly, whatever you like to watch, and I never used to be a reality TV person, never could understand the draw because I'm not a big fan of fighting and drama and stuff like that. The thing I will say about the, Below Deck is that the fighting and drama is really kind of at a minimum. I mean, it happens constantly, but it's not they don't allow, like, physical fights, people aren't being just completely stupid. It usually has a lot to do with, "Well, they snipped at me today, and now I'm having a problem with them." It's like it's just so it's like, "You better change your attitude." It's so mellow compared to a lot of the other
Uh,
reality TV shows, so, yeah,
well, there you go.
yeah.
It sounds like a good detox.
It feels less, like you're getting assaulted than because there are some really bad ones out there. I can't do it.
Yeah, I cannot make an informed opinion. I just know that it's not my jam. So, I'm just gonna stick with my uh, I love things like we don't need to get into it right now, but we've started watching a show on Apple TV called Silo. My daughter and I love to read dystopian novels.
Okay.
Silo is has a high creep factor in that
Mm,
apparently it's apocalyptic. Earth is no longer livable. So they
mhm,
built this silo that goes down into the earth. That's society. I think it's maybe 10 or 20,000 people living on these circular levels. And the law enforcement will send you outside into what they say is the unlivable environment if you say, I want to go outside, which is a death penalty in that society. You can't say it. Um, and there's, I don't know, it's just one of those things where, I think the establishment is lying to the population.
yeah,
And
of
it
course.
really is nice outside. And
Yes.
they're just showing you stuff on a screen when somebody's sent outside.
Yeah.
Um, and we just
I
love
love movies
dystopian
like
stuff.
that.
It's a series,
Mhm.
so um, you should totally check it out. It's
I'm
not
going
true
to. I'm looking
crime,
it up after this.
but I love novels like that where things are just so weird. It's like you think, okay, if society went this way,
Uh-huh.
this would happen. And you just get to live vicariously through these characters
Uh-huh.
and then return to your nice suburban home and
Absolutely. Yeah.
and not have to worry about it.
Your mac and cheese
But
and hot dogs.
exactly. It's a great show so far, so
Yeah,
you should check it out.
fun. Yeah, I'm definitely into psychological thrillers. I love thrillers.
Love
I
it.
love it.
Yep.
So that's what I try to do in the afternoon. I'm running out of stuff though. Like I've watched everything. Oh well. I'm sure I'll find
We'll
something.
find
They're always making dumb stuff. So
well, I wouldn't advocate finding a dumb thing to watch because that's sort of a waste of time, but
well, but it seems like I go through well, see, I will try on movies And if in the first 10, 15 minutes, you're not grabbing my attention or things are moving too slow, we move on. So I've got, probably 50 movies with about that much watched on the little watch meter.
Oh,
So
yeah, there you go.
it's
There
like,
you go.
what is this?
That's hilarious.
So,
Well, Biz, we've been going for almost an hour because we
yeah,
just had that much to talk
chatty.
about.
We were
I
chatty
know,
today.
but that's okay.
Mhm.
We covered all the stuff about Etsy seller. If you have any questions for us, be sure to comment on the um, YouTube broadcast or in the Facebook groups.
Mhm.
You can certainly subscribe to our newsletters. All that
Mhm.
stuff is in our descriptions. We would love to see you in the Facebook groups and on YouTube
Mhm.
and at next week's episode, right?
Absolutely. Every Friday, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. Are we sharing what we're talking about next week, or are we going to leave it a surprise?
Um, ooh, we are going to talk about how to work with black or dark yarn or low light crocheting. So hold on to your hats. We've got some tips
It's
on
going to be
how to do that.
crazy.
Grab your black yarn and shut the lights off and join us. It'll be fun.
Who needs light when they're crocheting, right? That's all I feel anyway.
No, don't get me started. All right, we should say goodbye.
All
Goodbye,
right.
Biz.
Bye. You guys have a great rest of your day.
All right, see you all next week.
Yes.